Welcome back, everyone. Michael here with Offshore Citizen. Today we're going to dive into an important subject for some of you. Some of you, it maybe isn't so applicable to you, but you might enjoy it anyway. And this is related to probably many of you are already in location-independent businesses. You're already digital nomads. You're already running some sort of a company that you've built up, and maybe you're an investor, etc. That's probably a good portion of you. However, there's a certain portion of our audience who are not in that situation but would like to be, right? And definitely one of the things that I personally have experienced in my life is that being location independent, like location freedom, definitely trumps time freedom, as much as this may seem contradictory. The reality is you're going to do something with your time anyway, and so being able to be where you want to be just has this huge advantage to it, in my opinion, over time freedom, although of course both are useful. Now, what I see quite a few people talking about, and some people come to me and they are in the process of starting something new, or they're interested in getting in something new in order to experience this. Maybe they've worked a traditional job, maybe they've had a traditional business, maybe they've done something like real estate or development, or any of these types of traditional businesses that keep them locked down. And they love the idea of being able to work from anywhere, being able to, go and live in a foreign country, etc. But the truth is, one of the main things that's determined historically where we live is, of course, where we earn our income, right? Obviously, more than any other period in history, we have an ability to be anywhere. I would say, especially with the advent of smartphones, we've got fast internet connections, etc. But obviously, that has had a tipping point more than ever before in the last year. So the thing that I see, though, is I see a lot of people who they aren't doing something, they'd like to transition, and they put themselves in kind of a risky spot. So I'm going to give some advice today on if you're getting started in a location-independent business, how should you do that? How would I recommend it, depending on your circumstances? Okay, so you're thinking, hey, I'm going to start something new, I want to be location-independent. What is the best direction to go in? What is the best business to start, etc.? We're going to cover that today. Before we do, though, if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button, hit the all notifications, make sure you don't miss out on any of our future videos. Go and check out some of the others, share them with your friends. I really appreciate your support. If you would like to reach out to us and get some advice, we help with international tax optimization, asset protection, forming companies, opening bank accounts, getting citizenships, getting residencies, all these types of things. You can book a call with me, calendly.com/Michael-Rosmer. There's a link in the description below, or you can send a message through our websites, offshorecitizen.net or offshorecapitalist.com. All right. Now, the first thing that I'm going to contextualize for you here is that anytime you start something new, there's an element of risk associated with that. What I mean is you could put in a lot of time, potentially a bunch of money, and potentially get nothing out of it. In other words, you could lose out. In fact, one of the biggest mistakes I made was when I started my second business was I did not maintain a side income while I was doing that. I was in a situation where I just didn't really know what I was doing. And I had a big learning curve, and there's a variety of different things. But the smarter thing to do would have been to maintain some sort of other side income at the time. Now, sometimes this is not possible, etc. But depending on your situation, there's two trajectories I would recommend. And I guess the way that I would put this is, for a lot of people, maybe they want to do something like going into drop shipping, or they want to run an Amazon store, or they want to do affiliate marketing, or they want to do things like this, okay? These are all perfectly good. Great business opportunities out there in the world today. And there's lots of variations, right? People can have an Etsy store, or they can sell on whatever other platform. They can have some sort of an Instagram following that they use to market, something, et cetera, right? But that being said, what all of these have in common is that it's fairly difficult to get to a critical mass point of income, okay? I'll come back to this in a second. And you're likely going to expend money, okay? So that's fine, that path is fine if you have and are going to maintain an existing income, all right? In other words, if you're in a situation where maybe you have a job, maybe you're doing some consulting or freelancing or whatever it is, and you'd like to free up your time, be able to scale better, going and starting those is great. And I think that's one path that is perfectly reasonable. These are businesses that can give you location freedom. They can potentially unlock all sorts of tax savings. They can potentially unlock some time savings. They can help you to, be better financially, etc. Lots to love about going in that direction, right? But there's another group of people who, in order to maybe live abroad, etc., they are not in a situation where they're going to have an income, right? A lot of times when you're moving abroad, the visas you get don't allow you to have a job. They really don't want you taking jobs away from locals. You maybe want to transition full-time to something different. Maybe you've already transitioned. Maybe you're in a situation where you lost a job. Maybe you just exited some other company, etc., etc. In these cases, the piece of advice that I would generally have is to start by selling services. And I mean this specifically as your services, okay? And the reason for it is it's much, much easier to make the amount of money that you're at break even and somewhat profitable with relatively low cost, okay? So just kind of thinking about it, if I have an income, then I can afford to spend money to go through a learning curve. And if I'm losing money, at least my income is covering that loss, so I can sustain. And you may have to sustain for quite a long period of time. Doing something like cracking Facebook, understanding how Facebook algorithm works and making money with online paid ads can be really tough today. There's lots of different complexities, having your accounts banned and all these sorts of things, right? So if you're not in a situation where you have some kind of income to sustain that learning curve, I would not advise that as a starting point. Not to say that you can't be successful with it, of course you can, right? But it's quite risky to do as a first step unless you have some income to back you up. On the flip side, if you don't have some income to back you up, it's relatively easy to go out there and to start selling your services and to get some income coming in immediately, essentially being paid to learn, being paid to build reputation. And I think the way that I would present it, having done both of these, is when you're selling services, well, I mean, in general, what you want is you want to be focusing on building some relationships, building expertise, and building reputation, okay? And you can do this, like I said, you can build a relatively small amount, you can get out there and you can start providing services to people, and people will pay you for those services. And services tend to have a higher margin per ticket item than products, okay? So let me give you an example. This is of course not universally true, but generally it's true. So let's say that I wanted to sell, I don't know, I went and bought recently this exercise bar with these bands, right? Maybe you can make $100 selling this bar, right? Let's just say that was the number, whatever the arbitrary figure is. Sometimes it's gonna be much lower, sometimes it's gonna be a little bit higher, but there's some range. And usually what you're selling is not gonna bring you in, a few $1,000s, right? And often the things that are gonna bring you in a few $1,000s are competitive, they're difficult to sell, especially to sell remotely, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So there's much more challenge in acquiring those customers. So, all right, getting a customer, you're probably not going to get that many customers at first. And how many customers do you need to break even, right? Let's say that again, you're making $100 per item. Okay, well, getting to the point where you're selling, let's say 50 or 100 of these per month actually can be quite a lot of work if you've never done it before, right? There's a big learning curve. You're probably going to expend a bunch of capital doing that, right? Where's that money going to come from? Do you have that money? It's not really like wise or integral, I would say, to go and to raise that money, because if you don't have the expertise, what are you doing? Like, why are you taking people's money to pay for your learning curve? It doesn't really seem too ethical to me, although people don't clearly do it. On the flip side, if I go and I get one customer who I can take care of providing services, again, like if you just think, okay, you sold a $500 item and you made maybe a couple $100. Over here, if you sell $500 of your time, pretty much all that time is margin, right? So you're getting it all for yourself. Second of all, it's much more likely that that person is you can provide an ongoing service to them, which means the ticket size can be much larger. So it's really nothing in order to sell $5,000 worth of service to somebody, right? Over a period of bit of time, and to get all of that yourself. Now, or substantially all of it, maybe there's some processing fees, things like this. What that does is it takes your risk off the table. It puts you in a position where you can be profitable faster, and by being profitable faster, you're now you freed up, you still got that location independence, you can work from wherever, etc. You can be learning, you can be building relationships, you can be building reputation, the things that are going to be important to kind of getting to where you want to go. But you're putting yourself in a safer position. And from that position, then you can sort of on the side start to build up this other part, which maybe is going to give you, higher upside or more time freedom and, maybe more scale, maybe something that you're proud of, etc. Hopefully you can be proud of both of them. So I hope that basic concept makes sense and really helps you out with deciding what your direction should be. If you want to start a new location independent business and you don't have background, where do you start? I would recommend for most people, if you don't have ongoing income in the process, start with a services-based business. Services-based businesses are worse in the long run in terms of upside, in terms of freedom, etc. But safer, easier to get to a place where you can start to fund that dream, that lifestyle that you're looking for. If you have income, okay, great, then go this other way, and that's going to have better upside, etc. So anyway, that's my guidance. If you have questions about it, put it in the comments below. If you disagree or you agree, tell me in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you guys. Again, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. If you'd like help, please reach out to me. You can book a call, calendly.com/Michael-Rosmer, link in the description below. I'm going to look forward to seeing you guys on the next video.